Bitcoin to 50,000 bucks at the topic of today, as well. You're starting to see that across all major media venues. Maybe that's a harbinger of not good things to come, at least if you are bullish. But as the ETF fears looming overhead kind of come to fruition here in the next week or so, there is going to be a lot more of this sort of, I guess, jockeying into position. So I want to go over this from not a subjective standpoint by going over ETF and all this news and nonsense and whatnot, as that's fleeting and flying and floating, especially if you've been paying any sort of attention, even for the last few years. You've seen these sort of stories pop up here and there, and who knows what the hell happens with them. But there is some statistically based setups that are starting to emerge that can give both an area of interest and a time frame as when to expect that, if it's going to be happening at all. So we'll go over the likelihood of that. And well, other than that, I want to welcome you back to the Krown Crypto channel. It's a nice little Wednesday. It is a Wednesday morning here. It's the third day of January of the year 2024. We're in the future right now. Feels good, man. And I should also let you know that today is also the last day for the sale. You can still get everything at a reduced price, especially the Krown Quant automation, which will allow you to not just automate your backtesting, but also automate your trade execution if you so desire. And I'll end that sale actually tomorrow. So fair enough. All right, let's just jump right into it. Starting off right in over here, a chart that we used to visit quite a fair bit. We've seen several of these setups in the past year, but nothing recently, basically since September. So it's been about 3-4 months now. We've seen 4 of these setups in the past year. One of them did not play out as intended. The other 3 pretty much did, actually. Anyways, in this particular instance, we do have yet another one of these emerging. We do see the 2-day time frame is showing that 2-day time frame volatility did get below that 10 percentile marker and now is actually expanding from there. Now, I do want to start off this analysis by saying this particular read is actually very uninspiring. The reason why I'll say that is because the best ones of these, the ones that especially produce the most returns as well, are the ones that base off in very low volatility environments for a while, like what we saw back on over here in July all the way through August before Bitcoin, really got going. And of course, the one before that we really saw, significantly prolonged low levels of volatility was actually back about a year ago before Bitcoin broke out from about, 16,000 to that first high of about 25,000 bucks. So in this case, this is more of like a touch and go scenario. So I would say that this is going to be very likely a weaker setup and does have a higher potential for failure, actually. But that in combination with the 2-day time frame stochastic oscillator, the direction of it has led to, a generally high probability setup. Again, with what I just said in mind, just that's more of like a personal observation, but the data is the data, and just looking at the raw inputs, well, is available as of right now. So here's the thing: as long as the 2-day time frame stochastic oscillator is positioned to the upside, which as of right now it kind of isn't. It did maintain yesterday's criteria, but you need to see actually 2 closures for it to really confirm, an actual substantiated direction. And in this case, the 2-day time frame is going to be showing the pivot at 44,350. So as long as Bitcoin is above that for this next 48-hour period, upside a lot more likely than downside, as we do see volatility expand. And when we have witnessed this setup, especially for the long setups, not looking at the short setups, but the long setups, because this would be, well, in upside direction, an upside bias at least, there have been 21 throughout the full history of Bitcoin. And of those 21, 17 of those did play out, to the upside. So giving it just under an 81% strike rate. Again, that's pretty fucking high, to be honest with you. Or it's pretty fucking high, to be honest with you. I mean, it is fucking high. That's just what it is. So I don't expect it to be like this high for forever, but for right now, they'll over the past year, like I said, 3 out of 4 did play out with flying colors. So I guess that's kind of in alignment with these stats anyways. But of those, of the full history of this for the long setups, they did take an average of about 18 to 19 days to play out from setup confirmed to the next major high. So is this one confirmed as of right now? I'd really like to see this next period actually confirm as well. So this would not be tonight, but tomorrow night on the closure, assuming that Bitcoin remains, healthily above 44,400. I'd even say just like a clean closure above 45,000 bucks, probably going to be good enough, as that is going to continue to see volatility expand, thus confirming, the actual breakout. So what are we getting into right here? Well, that would imply that 18 days, basically a little under 3 weeks. And there is some variance here. There's about a 7-day standard deviation. So, we're talking about 11 days versus about 2.5 weeks. So, as kind of like a high probability first standard deviation range, we'd be looking at what? We'd be looking at, maybe like next Wednesday. Is this going to be next Wednesday? Actually, sorry, that's not next Wednesday. That's 2 Wednesdays from today, 2 weeks. So basically middle of this month, maybe even as much as, what else did I say? Sorry, 14 days. Yeah, 14 days on the lower end. About, just doing some mental math right now as well. Feel absolutely stupid because I just completely forgot this, but 7, 18, 25 days, where would that put us out on the upper end, basically end of this month. So over the next 2 to 3.5 weeks, let's say, this is when Bitcoin would likely make that next move. And again, when we have witnessed this setup, we have seen an average return of about 28% almost, with a standard deviation of 10. I want to again call out that this particular signal right here is weaker, at least in my experience. This is weaker when you just see like a quick, stab down and then back up as far as volatility goes. So I would say this is probably going to be on the lower end of the, of the first standard deviation, which standard deviation of this particular return is about 10%. So, we're looking at a range again between like 17% on the lower end, technically 37% on the upper end. I think that's a lot less likely, although I will show you the results nonetheless. But, from assuming that, it does continue from here, we'd be looking at on the lower end, maybe something more like, $52,000. Again, sorry, I'm actually not measuring this properly. It should be from the low. There we go. Okay. 17% on the lower end. Am I doing this right again? I'm completely forgetting my numbers. Holy shit. I'm losing it over these past couple of days. I don't know what's going on. I think my brain is it's not working as well. Why could that be? All right. Yes. On the lower end, this actually makes a lot more sense. On the lower end, about 48,500. On the upper end, on the average, about $52,000. And on the upper end, if things got really, really crazy, which I do not think that this is going to happen. I mean, again, with a read like this on volatility, I think it's incredibly unlikely. We'd be talking about like $57,000. Of course, this probably plays hand in hand with an ETF announcement, I imagine. But you can see that in the background, things do populate before these sort of things go down. That can give you a statistical and probabilistic bias as to, what and when is going to happen. And that's what I trust the most as far as these things go. Not that I trust really anything else, to be honest with you. But in this case, as we called out yesterday, there is technically a bit of an ascending trend going on right here as well. I'm not a humongous fan of formations, although that one, just general uptrend would be pointed up north towards like $49,000. Just kind of estimated right there, probably a little bit lower. Yeah, about $49,000. And then of course, again, the time frame of that, we're looking around middle of this month to end of this month, which does make sense, as a lot of people are speculating that's an ETF announcement, probably, going to be about a week from now. Although again, who knows? That's a subjective sort of format of analysis. Like, what are you fucking basing that off of? I don't fucking know. Just parroting what someone else said, who apparently has inside information, but who knows? You don't actually know. Anyways, numbers, people lie, numbers don't. That's what I'd like to say about that. Anyways, moving on now, also kind of suggesting a higher probability of an upside continuation here. We do see that not just the daily time frame had that hidden bullish evidence, but now the 2-day time frame is very close to confirming hidden bullish evidence on CME here. This one is closing tonight, so basically anywhere above 45,500, which CME does have a premium over spot price action, basically here or higher, that will confirm. We see the same thing on spot price action as well. Actually, the 2-day time frame actually already did confirm last night, but the 3-day time frame is now in operation there, and that one's going to be confirming tonight as well, assuming that Bitcoin closes here or higher for spot price action above about $45,000. That will indeed happen. So you got daily over here. You got 2-day time frame right here and potential for a 3-day time frame right here. All of the higher term time frames favoring, showing a higher probability again of that upside continuation. If we go over here and we check out the daily statistics, we can see that as far as the daily statistics go for Wednesdays, it's actually kind of a coin flip as far as whether Bitcoin closes positively or negatively, historically speaking. It's literally been 50% for all of the daily closures have been either positive or negative. So it doesn't really help in that regard. In this case, I think that if Bitcoin is going to continue here, we do expect Bitcoin to close higher today than yesterday. It doesn't necessarily need to be like any sort of explosive move today, but needs to be higher than yesterday's closure in order to maintain volatility expanding. Anyways, in the case that we do see a positive return on Wednesday, has been on average about 2.5% or a little bit above 2.5% on the bearish days. On the negative closures has been a loss of about just over 2%. Again, on average. And of course, over here on the Oracle Pro, we did see that the 6-hour time frame and actually the 4-hour time frame continue to maintain those strong buy signals. Although, how much of that has already played out? Well, we haven't got any sort of profit taking things just yet, but these fired off about a couple $1,000 ago. So not bad. Not bad. Anyways, play around with these averages. What if Bitcoin does produce another 2 to 2.5% positive closure today from the open? What would that look like? That would actually put Bitcoin at 46,000 plus. And that would certainly continue to keep volatility expanding, which is absolutely necessary here if Bitcoin is going to indeed continue, just by definition. But remember, daily time frame, coming off these lows right here, we would essentially expect this move to continue overall, most likely today, but I guess you could say within the next 48 hours. The thing is that Thursday is typically is the most likely to close negatively for Bitcoin at 35.5% of all Thursdays closing negatively. What would essentially invalidate this? As always, need to go over something that would suggest that this is going to be one massive trap, big massive trap, biggest bull trap of all time, maybe. Maybe not that, but pull back first. If Bitcoin came back down below yesterday's low, that would be cause for concern, absolutely. Especially closing below yesterday's low, which is 44,150, or just anywhere below actually the 2-day time frame pivot. Again, it's not closing tonight; it is closing tomorrow, but even just coming back down below 44,300 or 400, that's going to look not so great for the boo laws here for continuation. So what essentially am I trying to say? If you are going to be bullish, if you are looking for Bitcoin to make the next leg up towards maybe 48 to 51, 52,000 bucks in the next 2 to 4 weeks or 2 to 3.5 weeks, you'd be expecting Bitcoin to maintain above that, especially in the next 48 hours. So fair enough. Anyways, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular video. I need to get off to boxing practice. I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, we'll end things right there. Again, sale going on. I'll end it when I wake up tomorrow. Yeah, fair enough. All right, that's a good place for us to leave off. As always, wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully Thursday for the most likely day to close to the downside.